Hello everyone, welcome back to another Commander review. Today we're talking about Reya Dawnbringer from the Invasion set. And Reya is a very cool card. Reya is a 4/6 angel that costs 6 generic mana and 3 white mana. Reya has flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is a reanimation, continual upkeep reanimation creature in your command zone, which is very, very cool and very powerful. And also very expensive. So we're in mono white. It's going to be a little tricky to get up to 9 mana. But setting that aside, there are no card rulings for this card. And then a card that I thought was fun to play with Reya is Angel of Ruins, specifically because Angel of Ruins can get you any planes from your deck. Of course, you're going to be a mono white, but there are a couple of non-basic planes cards in the game. So being able to tutor any one of those out, or just any other planes you need to help ramp you. And then, of course, it's got a cool ETB effect, so when you do reanimate it with Reya, you're going to get immediate value from its reanimation. The deck that I'm putting Reya in is actually an Angel Tribal deck, so ramping shouldn't be too hard because one of the other commanders of the deck is Giada. I'm hoping I'm remembering that's the name, the 2-drop angel from Streets of New Capenna. Let me know if I got the name correct, because I think it's Giada. I think it's her. But I could be wrong. But this deck is all about angels, giving them counters and gaining lots of life, and hitting really hard with very devoted and holy angels. A popular deck idea on EDH Rec is a reanimation tribal deck. You could play this in a couple ways. You could play like mono white aristocrats, or mono white mill, mono white discard, and then of course you're playing a lot of reanimation spells, whether it's instants, sorceries, or other creatures that reanimate your graveyard. Be careful with this deck idea, of course, because if all you're doing is reanimating and your opponents remove your graveyard, you're not going to have anything to reanimate, so be careful with that deck idea. But I think this one is actually really cool, especially because it's in mono white. And then lastly, since we are going to be reanimating a lot of stuff, we could just play a mono white aristocrat deck, which I think is very, very cool. And I think it's also very cool that this could be like a mono white mill deck. Really, essentially, this is just going heavy on the self-mill, self-sacrifice, value engine, recursive deck of mono white. And then since mono white is all about keeping your opponents at your level, that's the control aspect of white, things like Magus of the Balance or other balancing card effects are really powerful in this deck, because you can get a lot of value from your aristocrat cards, wipe the board with something like Magus of the Balance, and then reanimate your graveyard with Reya, as well as other reanimation spells. So very fun, very controlling, very value engine-y deck. And that is going to do it for Reya Dawnbringer. Now, as cool as this card is, it did get F tier. It is not a popular deck to build around. It's not a popular commander to build around. It is a very popular card to use in a lot of decks, but it's not a popular deck to build around. And I think the biggest reason for that is because it is very expensive. 9 mana just for the first time you play this card is a lot of mana. Since you're going to be playing a lot of reanimation stuff anyway, you're probably going to be able to reanimate Reya from the graveyard if it gets removed at all. But if it ever gets exiled, or your graveyard gets exiled while it's in it, then you will have to send it to the command zone somehow, or have instant speed reanimation to protect it, because the moment it goes back to the command zone, it's now 11 mana. And by that point in the game, you want to be doing a lot of different things rather than just having to play your engine piece again. So I believe this card has not seen a lot of deck building around, mostly because it is extremely expensive. And it does one thing, it just reanimates your graveyard. That's the only thing it does. So not a lot of themes to build around it either. With that said, I think Reya Dawnbringer is a really cool card. It's been one of my favorites to play around with for a long time. Definitely not one of my top tier favorites, but I've always loved Reya Dawnbringer. I've always enjoyed being able to play Reya Dawnbringer and getting at least one creature back from its value, just because it's so cool to be able to reanimate your graveyard. So that's going to do it for Reya Dawnbringer. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or comments. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!